What is going on, everyone? It's Ultimate Spy 53 here, and welcome to another episode of Reviewed. This is Reviewed number 150, and today I'm going to be reviewing Avengers Infinity War, the sequel to Avengers Age of Ultron, and the 7th movie in Phase 3 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, as well as the 19th Marvel movie overall.
We are under assault. I repeat, we are under assault. The engines are dead. Life support failing. Requesting aid from any vessel within range.
So what did I think of Avengers Infinity War? I loved it. I thought it was amazing. It was an amazing film. It just so devastating, obviously, but it's an incredible film, and I really enjoyed it. I mean, the first time I saw it, I was shocked. It was just awesome and everything like that. Like the trailer itself had a scene in it that was not part of the movie at all. And that's the scene where they're all, running through Wakanda with the Hulk behind them. That was not in the movie. They kind of misled you with that kind of stuff. But overall, it was truly an amazing movie. It was awesome. Yes, it was very awesome. Well, Red Skull, he said pronounces it Thanos, but everyone else knows it's Thanos. So Thanos was a very crazy villain. He was so powerful and so majestic and like overpowered because of the gauntlet he had, and that was why he was so powerful. But even then, it was just the whole film is just giant. It's huge, and the beginning of the movie starts at the end of Thor Ragnarok. The post credit scene of Thor Ragnarok shows Thanos' ship arrives, and then this starts right after the end of that, where Thanos is arrived and the ship basically ready to take the Tesseract, and then Hulk comes out to try to beat him up, and apparently the first time ever Hulk actually loses against an enemy. Usually he's crushes everything in his path, but not this time. Thanos was so powerful that he outsmarted the Hulk and managed to throw him down and knock him out, and that was crazy. That's probably why he didn't want to come out again after that, because he didn't want to do Banner's work essentially, which we'll get to later. But that was crazy because like, oh, Hulk versus Thanos, who will win? What do you know? Thanos. Who'd have known that Thanos would have won? And I didn't expect it either. I was like, whoa. And that fight between Thanos and Hulk was awesome. I mean, all the fights between one hero versus Thanos is awesome. I really think it is amazing. And then we have Thanos getting the Tesseract, which is the Space Stone, crushing it and then putting it in his gauntlet, and then taking off his armor, which is very unusual. I don't know, the first time I saw Thanos, it was, well, the first time I actually saw him actually speak was in Guardians of the Galaxy, but the first time I saw him was at the end of the Avengers. He looked way different because he was played by a different actor. But in Guardians of the Galaxy, he's the same character, obviously, same actor, but he looks different. He's kind of more bluish, and his eyes glow, which I kind of like that version of Thanos actually. Like he also comes back in Avengers: Age of Ultron at the very end of that movie. He comes back and takes the gauntlet, and then after that he goes to collect the gems, which means that the moment in Avengers: Age of Ultron where he gets the gauntlet and he says, "I'll do it myself," he immediately goes after the gem, which means the scene. I'm pretty sure it's the scene after that he goes to Zendar to Decimate and get the Power Stone. And so because he has the gauntlet, he doesn't need the armor anymore. He takes off the armor. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of this version of things because he looks different. Like in certain lighting, he looks red. Naturally, he's purple, but certain lighting, he looks red. And I just didn't like this version because I don't know, his eyes weren't glowing, and it's not. I mean, it's Thanos, but it's just different. He's just changed so much, obviously. But he takes off his armor because he has a gauntlet. So why he needs that? So it was interesting to me the fact that he took off his armor in the first place because usually he would have armor on because he's overpowered. But like, I guess he doesn't need armor for anything because he has the gauntlet. I don't really know. but I wasn't the biggest fan of him without armor. Honestly, I mean, I know that yes, like he doesn't need armor because he's so overpowered with the gauntlet, but like even then, I didn't. I don't know. Thanos just needs to have armor, you know. I just liked it better like that. And one of the things that shocked me the most, I mean, there's a lot of things that shocked me in this movie, but one of them was that Loki finally dies. That was the first death of the movie, and it was like, oh my god, I never would have expected it. I know that Heimdall dies, and Loki died. Loki's death was just like wow, because he was like he gives Thanos the Tesseract. He he actually has it the whole time, and then we have it where he's like, he's got missions and trying to kill Thanos, and Thanos kills him and just chokes him to death. And that version of Loki is actually dead. So the one we see and behind the scenes pictures in Avengers 4, that one is the one we're gonna see like that one's from the first Avengers movie. But the one we see in that moment he's dead, which is so sad because that was one of the most shocking deaths. It's like, oh my god, he's actually dead for real. But yeah, that was crazy. And this movie this particular Avengers movie is supposed to be a bookend for Iron Man, among other heroes like Captain America, Thor, other characters like that. There was like the three main Avengers, even Hulk, but he's only ever been in Avengers movies mainly. But with Iron Man, like his arc is supposed to end in this movie or these two movies. The idea is that he almost dies in this movie, which I'll get to later, and it's supposed to be a bookend for Tony Stark because he is Pepper, who's gonna marry, and then the end of Homecoming, we see that he's gonna get married, possibly. He got engaged to Pepper, and you're gonna have a wedding. He has doing it as a kid, all that stuff. But this movie, it's supposed to be a bookend for Iron Man, mainly Iron Man. Captain America, yes, but mainly Iron Man because he's been in the MCU since the very beginning. Literally, this movie was 10 years in the making, like a 10-year journey of all these movies, setting up this giant movie with the Infinity Stones, with each movie. But Iron Man was like the centerpiece of all that, and that's why he was such an important character to have. And it was really good to see that. I mean, obviously Happy is in the movie, but he's in a deleted scene, so he wouldn't actually be. He's not actually in the theatrical release, which is unfortunate. But I did see a deleted scene where he's actually in the movie. Before Tony Stark meets Doctor Strange, and I just it's the perfect bookend for him. I mean, obviously he's come back in Avengers 4 Endgame, and he's gonna be he's gonna probably his arc is gonna be finishing out there. I don't know what's gonna happen to him, but something. But yeah, this is definitely a bookend for Iron Man, and I don't know what's gonna happen to him after this. And with Iron Man being in the MCU, or possibly not being in the MCU. I know that he has his relationship with Pepper to deal with. We got to see a glimpse of her at the end of Spider-Man: Homecoming, and as far as we know, the arc reactor was taken out of his chest at the end of Iron Man 3, but he has a new one. He has like a new like housing unit for his nanoparticles, which is basically where his new suit comes from. I love his new suit. I mean, I was more a fan of the Mark 6 suit, the one with the triangle. I love that. It's one of my favorite Iron Man suits until this movie came out. Obviously, I mean, until this movie came out, my favorite was the Mark Six, the triangle. That was just the best one. But the nanotech suit is the best. That's the coolest one I've seen because it literally forms around him. He just like presses the housing unit thing, and suddenly the nanoparticles just surround him, and then it literally comes out of his it's called the bleeding arch armor. It's supposed to be Mark 50 according to some people. It's Mark 48. I pay attention to movies. Some people out there don't. They just want to. Apparently, they think the MCU just skipped armors. No, it's Mark 48. But that armor is awesome. I just love it. It's fantastic. It's so cool, and it has all the gadgets and all that stuff. But in general, it's very cool. One of the most impressive armors because again, it forms around him, kind of like the Iron Spider, but in this case, it's just cooler. So and Peter's spider sense actually works in this movie. The last time we saw it was actually in Civil War, and that was like when he's like, oh god, he's looking out for things. And in this movie, the first time we see it in the trailer, the Comic Con trailer back in 2017 was like a leaked trailer, and that where his better sense tingles, his like the hairs on his wrist pop up, that's his better sense, and that was like something that was absent in Homecoming, completely absent. Didn't even go over that one, but in this movie, it's very much there, and that's also a key factor into his death scene, which is the saddest of the entire movie because it just shocked me, and that's because he knew he was gonna die, and that was the crazy part about it. But still, I thought that it was cool that his spider sense was actually part of the movie. It wasn't the entire movie, just the fact that it's just there. It's pretty good. And one of the Marvel Legends, Stan Lee, unfortunately passed away, but in this movie, he has a great cameo. I don't know my favorite cameo, but it's definitely very funny. You know, he was a great actor, and I'm really, you know, it's unfortunate that he passed away because I got to meet him technically. And his cameo was where he's like, you know, what's the matter with you? Because I've never seen a spaceship before, and that's because he, well, the bus driver he was playing, he would think the kids in the bus would know about aliens because of the Battle of New York and the first Avengers movie. And that was just a fantastic cameo. The fact that he says that is like, yeah, the kids should know about that. You know, the kids should know about alien invasion. Now that the Chitauri invaded back in 2012 with the Avengers, they should know already, but they don't. That was the part of it. That was why the line was so funny. And I mentioned this at the beginning of this review, the fact that Hulk doesn't come out after he's being done to Earth by the Bifrost, and that's the fact that he doesn't want to come out because he's done with being Bruce's last resort, like his thing. Because like after getting the shit to beat him out of Thanos, he doesn't want to be Bruce's weapon basically, and that's why he's tired. That's why we don't see him ever again. Bruce tries to get him out again, but he just fails to do so. I think the reason why they did that in this movie is because they wanted Bruce to have more to do. They wanted him to be here without the monster. And that was a really interesting thing. Like, I didn't love that idea. I didn't like that, you know, the fact that they did that. I think it was very interesting. The fact that we get to have, we get to see more of Bruce. We get to see Bruce actually fight, you know, to see what he can do as a scientist. But I think people were disappointed that Hulk was not in the movie, you know, as much. Like, he was in there, like, maybe a couple minutes, and that was it. Literally a couple minutes because again, he got his shit handed in by Thanos, and that was the crazy part about it. So that's a more interesting thing about the movie was the fact that the Hulk was just not in the movie enough because again, he feels like it's just like Bruce's weapons. Like you're my secret weapon. No, I'm not doing it anymore. I've just got my assigned to be my Thanos. I'm not doing this. And one of the coolest new sets of armor. I mean, I mentioned the nanotech armor, which is awesome, but the even awesomer armor is the Iron Spider armor. And this is the coolest thing because we got teased of that at the end of Spider-Man Homecoming. We get all of it in this movie. We get this Iron Spider suit, and that's the best suit ever. It's literally like it's straight from the comics. I mean, I haven't read the comic, but I've seen like an image online about what it looks like, and it's basically like this red and gold suit with arms coming out of it. And the filmmakers got this right. The editor made the suit good. I mean, obviously Tom Holland had to wear, you know, a motion capture to actually get it, so they can actually make a suit in editing because they can't actually make an actual suit like that. They could try, but it would be hectic and hard. It was almost to capture all CGI. They had to do that, but it was really cool because it's because if you saw the suit at the end of Homecoming, you'd know that it's this really cool suit that has just basically like it attaches to the Homecoming suit because he wears the Stark suit and then it just attaches to his suit itself and it forms around him. And when he needs it, he can have the arms, which is awesome. That's the best part. I actually got to use that suit in the Spider-Man PS4 game, and it's awesome. It's so cool. I just love it. And that's the best suit of the I think it's probably the best suit that Peter's worn in the MCU so far. We got the homemade suit, we got the Stark suit, and then we got this suit, which is awesome. He's obviously gonna get another suit in Far From Home, but this is the coolest suit out of all of them. It's incredible. I just love it. It's fantastic. It's so cool, and I just love the fact that the mask can just like it can just like form away, like it can go away, kind of like the Venom symbiote in Venom. It's just awesome. Again, it's on that attack, so it just like forms away around him and all that stuff, and it's awesome. I love it. It's just fantastic. I mean, I know that it's not exactly the same because again, the MCU tries to make their costumes as close to the comics as possible, but all at the same time trying to modernizing, which is why it's not the red and gold. I mean, it's red and gold, just not exactly the same as the comics. They always change a bit of stuff. They make it as accurate as possible. They're not going to get perfect, which is fine because it looked cool in the end. It looked really awesome. And one thing I noticed about this movie, because again, the Guardians of the Galaxy are featured heavily in the movie, is the fact that Gamora and Star Lord, their relationship has changed a lot. Because at the end of Volume 2, there's a post-credit scene with Groot that takes place 4 years after, and this movie takes place, around that time, like maybe a little bit after, because Groot is a teenager in this movie, and he's a teenager in that movie too. Like that right into that movie, teenager in this movie, teenager too. And apparently, by that time, Gamora and Star Lord's relationship has escalated a lot. That now like they're I guess a thing now because Gamora loves Star Lord and he loves her too, kind of thing like that. Because we always kind of knew that was a thing since like the first movie, I guess. So it's really interesting that they actually do have a thing going on, an actual romantic thing going on, which is very interesting. I don't really know where that came from because I know it was hinted a lot in second movie, but it never really took form after that. I didn't really understand that, so I'm glad they kind of like went ahead and be like, yeah, they're dating now, just like that. I mean, we don't really need context. We just kind of assume that's what's gonna happen. Like, yeah, they're probably gonna eventually end up together. One, who knows? But I guess they just decided to just like, yeah, let her know, hey, they're together now. I mean, they don't really need to explain it to us, but I think we get the idea, so we kind of don't need to have that. But I thought it was still very interesting and very, I mean, it's very sweet, yes, but just like I don't know, it was odd. Like, okay, that's that then. And that also brings me to the fact that Gamora's death was very tragic because Solo wouldn't shoot her because she's like, "Kill me if Thanos gets me," kind of thing. Like he promised to kill me, and he doesn't want to kill her, and because of that, she ended up dying because Thanos has to sacrifice Gamora to get that Soul Stone, all that stuff, and it's just like that was a very sad death. I will admit that was a very sad death. And the funny part about this movie, there's a lot of comedy in the movie, so much comedy, but Groot was really funny because the most of the time, like half the time he was just on his video game playing Defender, which actually is a tiny Easter egg for The Defenders, which is a Netflix show set in the same universe. I stopped watching the whole universe because after I watched The Defenders, I just like stopped watching all the Netflix shows set in the MCU because they're just boring and they're too much. But I think the idea is that's supposed to be like a nod to the Defenders of from for Netflix. That kind of I don't know. I mean, it's a classic '80s video game, and he was like playing the entire time until, of course, Stormbreaker came into effect. Like he literally did that. Like he literally stopped playing the game as soon as Stormbreaker was something he had to make. Like he had to like use his own hand, like craft his own like part of him to get Stormbreaker to work. That was the whole thing about it. And that was why he stopped playing video games after that. He's like, I gotta step up here. I gotta really take action. And just like the promo art, which is very interesting because in that art it shows Scarlet Witch and Vision kind of close together. It kind of pays off in Civil War. They kind of show that they've kind of gotten closer. But in this movie, they're officially dating. They are because in the comics, I mean, I haven't read the comics, but I've learned a lot about them. I follow a YouTuber known as Emergency Awesome who does Marvel videos, and he explains a lot about this stuff. And in fact, that in the comics, Vision and Scarlet Witch worked together. They got married. They got a baby, kind of like that. But in this movie, they wanted to the filmmakers just wanted to. I guess in this case, the directors they wanted to like at least remind everyone that yeah, just like the comics, Scarlet Witch and Vision are together. They are dating, and that's that. So that was what made the very end of the movie very emotional because again he loves her even though it's really hard for him to feel emotions because he's an android. But even then, it's all part of the comics. Another interesting thing about the movie was that I don't think this is part of the comics at all because I haven't read the comic book, but apparently Cap, Black Widow, and Falcon are all in their secret mission thing like that because they're part of the Secret Avengers apparently. Because after Civil War, they decided to go into hiding as Secret Avengers, form a little team and go on little missions, and that's where they had been all this time. Cap's got a beard. He's taking all the stuff off his uniform. Take the Avengers badge off, all that stuff. He's got a full beard, everything. Even the helmet's gone. Although the helmet might return in Endgame. Who knows? I've seen like promo art that shows him with the helmet. Who knows if that's real or not? Hopefully it is. And then Black Widow has changed her hair to blonde, which is super weird because that's not supposed to be how it is. Apparently, her hair is going to change back, and Endgame is going to be back to red again. Red Brave, which I love because Black Widow is probably my favorite female character of the MCU. She's so gorgeous. Well, it's not just that, but also just because she's a badass. It's not just because of her look. It's also just she's because of badass. But also just hard to get used to the idea of having her with blonde hair because ever since Iron Man 2, she's had like red hair. And one of the parts about this movie that really made it incredible was showing backstory about Thanos. And basically, it's like showing you Titan, which is where all the stuff from the first Avengers movie came, like the big worm thingies, the big metal worm thingies, all that stuff. And that's where Thanos' home planet is, and that's where Gamora came from. That's where we get a flashback scene with young Gamora, and that's where Thanos ends up adopting her. All that stuff. That was an incredible scene. Very sad scene because it shows him like decimating the planet, which is crazy. But that's the important part about the movie was showing his backstory about why he's doing what he's doing, which is amazing. And seeing Titan, we get to know more about Thanos. We get to know him as a villain. which is something we didn't really get to know about, Ultron or Loki at all. We didn't really get to know much about them. We got more in depth about Thanos. We get to really know his soul and his personality, and why he had to do what he did to why he had to wipe out the half the universe to make everything good, make to have mercy, all that stuff. There's only one way to make everything better is why about half the universe, like kind of thing. That's why he's called a madman in the comics and in the movie. Well, in the comics he's called a mad titan, but in the movie he's called, I think he's just the great titan, or whatever. I don't know. Same idea, same idea. And one of the funniest scenes in the entire movie. I mean, one of the funniest. I don't know if it's right. Yeah, I think it's probably the funniest. I know there's more than that, but one of the best parts of the movie was definitely Drax's invisible joke because it became a meme after that. And that's is where it's like, if I move so slow, I'm invisible. And it's the funniest line because it's so funny because he's like the best part of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies because he's so funny. Like the beginning of the Guardians of the Galaxy scene in the movie, he's just sleeping. But yeah, like that invisible joke was great. He's like, I'm invisible, moving so slow, I'm sure I'm invisible. Yeah, he's got great comedy. Really, the actor himself is just. I think I was actually improvised too. That was a great line. Yeah, most of the lines in the movie were improvised, which is fantastic. And one of the scenes from the trailer, which is showing Black Widow and Bruce kind of reuniting, wasn't actually in the movie. Well, obviously, like a lot of the scenes are. But in this place, we still get a scene where they reunite. It's him at the Avengers base with Vision, Scarlet Witch, Cap, Falcon, Black Widow, and War Machine. And that's basically the reunion. Like, hey, I'm back. What's up? It's very awkward, yes, but they have like a making a plan, all that stuff to get to figure out how to get the mindset out of Vision, all that stuff. So that's basically the reunion, which is very interesting. Also, like where did that scene go? I think it probably is in the Blu-ray. I don't know where it went. I haven't watched the deleted scenes yet because I don't own the movie. I was able to watch this on Netflix, but still, I don't know. And like I mentioned before, this movie it begins right after the end of Thor Ragnarok, after Spider-Man: Homecoming, after Guardians of the Galaxy Vol. 2, specifically 4 years, after the events of Black Panther, and kind of sort of after the events of Civil War. Well, maybe kind of like it's takes place 2 years after that movie, basically. Because that's the because Vision mentions it's been 2 years, kind of thing. So it's basically yeah 2 years after Civil War, essentially. So that's the timeline. And with Civil War in mind, General Ross, or Secretary Ross, Thunderbolt Ross from Civil War, and also the Incredible Hulk, he comes back as like a hologram, which is so lame. But I don't know why would he do that? Why would he appear as a hologram? Were he somewhere else? I don't know. That was a very I never really thought about it that way. Where it's like when I think of holograms, I never think about it that way. I just never do. I mean, it was cool to see him, but even then, it was like okay, whatever. And one thing that I liked a lot was actually played at the very end of the Infinity War trailer, specifically the second trailer, and that was when Spider-Man is meeting Doctor Strange for the first time. He's like, "I'm Peter, by the way, Doctor Strange. Oh, you're using your made-up names. Then I am Spider-Man." And that scene is different in the movie because in the trailer, why I just acted out right there. That was in the trailer, but in the movie, it's actually I'm Peter, by the way, Doctor Strange. Oh, you're using made up names. Well, I'm Spider-Man then. And that was how it went. It was different. I kind of liked the one in the trailer because the trailer kind of felt like Doctor Strange was like was more. It's like having happened to me is like Doctor Strange, like kind of like that. It's like in the movie, it's like Doctor Strange. It's like it just kind of feels like he's like I'm not happy to meet you. Sorry. That's why a lot of the trailers aren't gonna have everything in the movie, obviously, but quite a bit I would say. And one of the more proud moments of the movie from Peter is that he finally becomes an Avenger because after he declines Iron Man's invitation to become an Avenger because he has high school all that stuff, he finally becomes an Avenger in this movie. I mean, he has a lot of responsibility in his hands, but he finally becomes an Avenger, and it wasn't as impressive as I would have thought it would be, but it was still pretty cool. I really like that. And one actor that got to be a part of the movie was Peter Dinklage, and in this case, it kind of feels like a studio swap because he previously played Balthazar Trash. I don't know. He was the head of Trask Industries, and X-Men: In the Future Past. And in this movie, he plays Eitri the dwarf. He's like dwarf. He basically the guy who made the Infinity Gauntlet for Thanos, and also he helps Thor make Stormbreaker. but Peter Dinklage was basically cast as in a secret role in the movie, which is very interesting because again he played a character in X-Men before, so kind of in that way it's like the same publisher, Marvel, but different studios. You have to go from Fox to Marvel Studios, which is very interesting. But yeah, he plays a dwarf and basically makes Thor weapon, and obviously he has like a British accent, sort of like that. It's kind of he's obviously American, but it was cool to see him in the movie because after seeing him in X-Men Adventure Pass, it was cool to see him in this movie because again, Marvel. And like most movies in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, there's always comedy, and there was quite a lot of comedy in this movie. Well, some of the best comedy was between the Guardians and Iron Man, Spider-Man, and Doctor Strange. All of that was fantastic. I thought Doctor Strange is more serious in the movie, a lot more serious. I mean, there are some moments in the movie that are funny with him, but he's more of a serious character, and I like that. But a lot of the comedy was focused on the Guardians and the those characters. I mean, by the Guardians, I mean the ones who are in Titan, meaning Thor, Lord, Drax, and Mantis. But yeah, a lot of comedy. I'll get to more later, but there's a lot of comedy. And one of the most important scenes in the movie, at least in my opinion, was Doctor Strange going forward in time on Titan, seeing all the possible outcomes of the coming conflict, and finding 14,605 outcomes of what they are against, basically Thanos, like how went against Thanos, and 1 in 14,605 chances they can win, which I think is a very interesting plot device. Like it's just like it's crazy because it's a one chance they have to win, and that chance happens to be they had to let Thanos win, which is incredibly crazy. So that was the most important part of the movie because again it ties into what's going to happen in Endgame where they had traveled back in time and all that stuff, and figure out the one chance they have against Thanos, which is what's going to happen in Endgame, which is crazy. And one of the most shocking scenes I saw in the movie, and this actually kind of like really surprised me because I did not know it was coming, was the Return of Red Skull. Now, this was the biggest moment of the movie because I did not expect it, and that fact that he was obviously played by Hugh Weaving in Captain America: The First Avenger, but apparently he was transported to Vormir after he touched the Tesseract. Too much for him, and he went to Vormir, and now he's here. And that was the biggest shocker of the movie was seeing him there. Because first time I saw the movie in theaters, I was like, "What? He's back?" They couldn't bring Hugh Green back. Apparently, he declined. I don't know why, but he declined, and it was just shocking. I was very surprised. Like, I did not expect him to come back, but it was still very interesting because it kind of he's been there all the time, the entire time since Captain America won. Basically, helps Thanos get the stone essentially, like show the instructions about how to get this all that stuff and sacrificing him or all that stuff. Very tragic, yes. But even then, it was still crazy that he came back, and it was really fun for Bruce to be in the Hulkbuster armor because he himself took on the Hulkbuster when he was Hulk back in Age of Ultron, and to see him in the Hulkbuster is actually quite perfect because not only was he the Hulk himself, but also because he has to have some kind of weapon and defense to help out in the Battle of Wakanda, which is amazing. But and I like the fact that we got to see the Hulkbuster again because it's probably one of my favorite Iron Man armors. It's just awesome. It's just fantastic. I think it's slightly upgraded. I don't know if it is or not. I think it might have been, but I'm pretty sure it's the same exact armor that we saw in Age of Ultron. So I liked it a lot. It was very fun to see him in the Hulkbuster armor and just kind of bounce around and whack everything. It was awesome. The one thing that was the most fun to watch and then made me go yee was when Cap and Black Panther both running crazily out into the field ahead of everyone when they're in the Battle of Wakanda, and because it's because they both have super speed. Like they're both like they have an enhanced speed. They can run really fast, not like insanely fast like Quicksilver or the Flash, but they're really really fast. And so it was like, yeah, they're fast. It was crazy to see them be able past everyone and just like take on the whole army head on. It was just like whoa, it was so fun. And one of my all time favorite scenes in the entire movie. At least I think so. There was a lot of scenes I liked a lot, but this is one of my favorite scenes, and that's when Thor finally arrives on Wakanda via Bifrost, and that was awesome. We not only got to see Stormbreaker axe could go and destroy everything in its path, but also the Avengers theme played at the exact time. That was perfect. Because the Avengers theme is my favorite theme song of all time, one of my favorite theme songs of all time, and it's just awesome. So to see him, enter like that, it was awesome. Plus, he looks cool in the armor. I think Korra has one of the coolest armors in the movie, so I liked it a lot. And I thought the battle on Titan was fantastic. The Battle of Wakanda was great. it was epic and all that stuff. But the battle on Titan was where everyone was trying to take on Thanos because you have Star Lord, Mantis, Drax, Iron Man, Spider Man, Doctor Strange, even Nebula a little bit. But she's not really helping out. She's just kind of like there, just chilling. She's not really doing much really. But it was crazy because they're using all of their abilities to take on Thanos. Like you have Mantis on his head, trying to make him sleep, kind of thing, while he's attempting to. You have Doctor Strange like whipping his hand together. You have Spider Man webbing him up, or at least partly. Iron Man is using the gauntlet, and then obviously Star Lord having a little like remote thing having I guess, and then Drax kind of like holding him. And it was a crazy moment. That was a really crazy moment. Like they would have almost won. Like the gauntlet would have almost come off if Star Lord hadn't lost it. Like if he hadn't realized that Thanos sacrificed Gamora because he loves Gamora, then it wouldn't have been that way. They would have gotten the gauntlet off and won the battle, but it didn't work out. Star Lord had to lose, and they just had to lose. He lost his shit, so they lost the battle. It sucked, but yeah, it's the way it is. I guess that's the story. And one of the funniest lines in the movie that I liked a lot, not the funniest, but one of the funniest was when Groot introduced himself by saying, "I am Groot," and then Captain America is like, because he doesn't understand how Groot talks, like the fact that "I am" and Groot are all like random words he can say because he doesn't speak Groot. So he automatically assumes that just means he's saying his name. So he's like, I am Steve Rogers. And it's like talking to an alien. It was like, I mean, technically, Groot is an alien, but it was still like hilarious to see him like I am Steve Rogers. Like, really? Because Groot just can't, he doesn't understand, because Cap obviously doesn't understand like what Groot is and like what, the fact that Groot can't say any more than those 3 words, which is hilarious. And also the fact that like Thor keeps calling him Tree, like he keeps getting called Tree a lot. Same thing with the Rocket actually, with Thor and Rocket. He keeps calling Rocket Rabbit. It's like he's not a rabbit. Like I guess Thor doesn't know what a raccoon is. Apparently, I don't think he just knows about rabbits. The movie had a lot of funny moments, and I will tell you that definitely a lot. And just like in the trailer, the Comic Con trailer, specifically the leaked one, the battle between Thanos and Iron Man was just epic. It was so crazy because Iron Man was using all his tech that he had with the nanotech all armor to get everything done. It was incredibly crazy, and in doing so, he almost dies. Like he almost dies. And unfortunately, Doctor Strange has to give up the Time Stone in order to live. But it's like the only way he can, because again, Doctor Strange is like, this is the only way to win. Let him get the stone, all that stuff. And that was like, it was still like crazy. Still like, wow. I did not expect that at all. It was like, that was a very emotional scene too. It was like, oh my god, is Iron Man gonna die? I mean, who knows? I mean, obviously he didn't die, but like we were almost thinking he was gonna die because he was like so close to death. So yeah, crazy. And one of the saddest parts of the movie, and this is all time the saddest, was when Scarlet Witch had no choice but to basically blow up Vision because she had to like destroy the Mind Stone, and Shuri didn't have enough time to get the Mind Stone out of Vision. So it was just like it was so sad. I was very, well, I didn't cry, but I was still very very sad. I'm like, oh my god. I was just like, no. I was I wasn't happy. I was like, no, this is very emotional. It was one of the most emotional scenes of the movie. Of the entire movie. It was one of the saddest because Vision loved Scarlet Witch, and so it was like an emotional scene because of that. And it was probably why it's so sad because they both know what's gonna happen. So I was like the ugh. And because of that, it started with that scene and ended with Thanos winning and everyone almost dying. Well, by everyone I mean like quite a lot of characters died. It was a very sad part of the movie. That was like ugh. Man, I think even I think Mark Ruffalo even almost spoiled the ending of like everyone died. Well, not everyone, but most of the people die. He was right. They all die. Almost all of them die. And just like in the trailer, I mean, almost like the trailer, except it was changed a little bit in post production to go outside with not getting away spoilers. But in the scene where Cap is blocking Thanos from with the gauntlet, because he has got his strength and all that stuff, and Thanos like, oh my god, you're so strong. Some of the gems are missing from the gauntlet in the actual trailer, to not give spoilers away. But in the scene, they're all there. Like almost all the ones except for the ones that are in the gauntlet. So it's kind of like they were editing that in post production to not to give away spoilers. That was the most important part about that because they gotta keep it under wraps basically. But also it just proves that Captain America is very strong because it was like wow, that was the most epic part of the trailer itself was that scene. It was just crazy. And one character that had a pretty big change, not horribly crazy, but it was pretty big, was Scarlet Witch. She went from brown hair to orange hair, and then her accent just dropped. Well, it almost dropped. It was like I'd say about 95% dropped because she's supposed to be Russian. She was introduced in Age of Ultron as this Russian enhanced person, superpower person, technically mutant in the comics, and she has a Russian accent. But in this movie, she hardly has any Russian accent. I mean, you can sort of tell it's there. Like it's still little hints of it, but they basically dropped it, which is very weird. Like, okay, well, what a way to develop a character is drop the accent completely. They didn't completely drop it. They mostly did. You can if you really pay attention, you can hear the Russian in there, but it's not very much in there, which is unfortunate and very weird. And then the final scene where Thor is about to kill Thanos, like he is the Thornbreaker to try to kill him back in the Infinity Gauntlet. If he had gone for the head, he would have won, and that was the pinnacle of that moment was if he had just gone for the head like Thanos instead, you should have gone for the head. He would have won them, but instead, of course, Thanos had to initiate the snap, which is crazy, but also like it's so true. If you had only gone for the head, it would have been a different story. But unfortunately, that's not the way it happened. And Thor was actually pretty surprised himself. It's like, oh my god, I should have gone for the head. But I got that's the power of storytelling. You gotta tell a very good story, and not all the time the heroes are gonna win. And the one death in the snap that affected me the most, it really got me. Like where I'm actually I was watching the video and I watched it on YouTube and I saw everyone's reaction like, yeah, I know, is Spider-Man. Now, I would think it was some kind of post online. I think it was either YouTube or Facebook, where some person took their kid to see the movie and they're a big fan of Spider-Man, and so when they got to that scene, their kid who never cries in movies ever cried at that death scene because again, Spider-Man is one of the greatest superheroes ever. In my opinion, I love that character, and so that death really hit me because it's like, well, not only did Tom Holland improvise his, I don't want to go, kind of, and I'm not saying it was supposed to copy the 10th Doctor's final words, I don't want to go, but it was emotional. That was so sad because not only was he improvising, but also like he gets his hug in the end, but it's like he knew he was gonna die because his spider sense went off like, oh my god, I'm gonna die. Like my spider sense is tingling, I'm about to die. And that was the like the saddest death of the entire film, probably. I mean, the saddest like moment of the movie was Vision and Scarlet Witch, all that stuff, but Spider-Man's death was just the one that really went right in the head. It was like, oh my god. So and two characters that were not in the movie, although one of them was in the promotional art for the movie itself, didn't actually appear in the movie, was Hawkeye. And apparently Hawkeye was like Captain America, Black Widow, and Falcon on his own secret mission. Apparently he was in Japan fighting the Yakuza or whatever. That's how it happened. Obviously he survived the snap, but he wasn't in the movie at all. He was in the promotional art, which is very weird because it doesn't make sense. Why would you put him in the promotional art but not on the actual movie? It makes no sense. I mean, it's obviously explained that he's with his family because of the Sokovia Accords and all that stuff, and he's under house arrest and all that stuff. That's the same thing with Scott, Ant-Man. He's under house arrest, and that's why he's not in the movie because he was busy with the quantum realm, all that stuff, and that's where Ant-Man and the Wasp ties into the movie because that it directly goes after that. Well, it takes place after Civil War, but it starts right at the end of Infinity War, and I wish that he was in the movie because although he wouldn't have done much to really help, it would have been great to see him because he's gonna be in Endgame and that's fantastic. But I just wish it would have been because he's in the promotional art but not in the movie. What the hell? And I think that what it all comes down to is the Dark Strange was right. The only way to win against Thanos was actually to let him win, to collect all the Infinity Gems and just snap his fingers, and let half the universe just vanish. And that was one of the most crucial decisions of the film was to just let him win because they have won twice before. Avengers 1, Avengers 2, Avengers 3. Nope. And that was the crazy part. It's like they lost against Thanos, and it's like especially in the Avengers and Endgame trailer. It's like, yeah, we lost. We lost friends and family. All that stuff. It's crazy. But Doctor Strange was right. It's in the end game, and this only way to win was to let him win. That's the whole thing. That's the tragic part about it. Like that's the hardest decision. Is that so? And this probably was the best superhero movie of the year, not of all time. Of all time, I'd probably give that to Spider-Man 2, but of the year, definitely this one. I really enjoyed that movie. It was fantastic. Black Panther, I skipped that one. The reason why I'm not doing it this week or at all is because I just didn't like it. It just wasn't my cup of tea. I mean, I didn't hate it. I watched the movie a couple times. It just wasn't my cup of tea. I was just wasn't into it. It was just boring. I'm not racist or anything. It just wasn't my thing. It was probably my least favorite MC movie just because it just wasn't. I don't know. I was just not into it really. Not my kind of thing. I mean, again, I'm not gonna be in every Marvel movie that comes out, but it just wasn't for me. Just wasn't for me. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, pretty good movie. Ant-Man and the Wasp. I don't know. I'll have to really think about that when I talk about it next week because that's my next review. But I definitely think that Infinity War is probably the best movie of 2018. Probably. I mean, I know that Spider-Man 2 will forever be the greatest superhero movie ever made, at least until Avengers Endgame comes out. But of all time, probably Spider-Man 2. Definitely. I liked Into the Spider-Verse. That was very fun. Not the best superhero movie of all time, but definitely very, very fun and very entertaining, and I liked it a lot. But I definitely think that Infinity War was just a very, very big movie. It was just crazy. But that's why it's my favorite Marvel movie so far. So, and to wrap this review up, because I've been going for quite a while now, is that the reason why the Avengers lost against Thanos is because they didn't work as a team. That's why Endgame, which comes out in April actually, which is crazy. That movie is supposed to like have them as working as a team. That's why they're going to win because they're going to be working as a team. Is like properly know how to work as a team with Captain Marvel and stuff. But for this movie, the reason why they lost in the first place is because they weren't working as a team, or they were scattered. Like you had Titan with Iron Man, Spider Man, Doctor Strange, Drax, Nebula a little bit, Mantis, and Star Lord, all there, and then you had Wakanda with Black Widow, Cap, War Machine, Bruce, Vision, Scarlet Witch, Falcon, Winter Soldier, all those, and then you have and then on Villanir. I don't. It starts with the V. Villanir. I don't know. You have Thor, Groot, and Rocket. Now that's the reason why if they were all together at once, they would have beaten Thanos easily. But then because they were underpowered by everything because it just didn't work out. I mean, and that's why they lost against Thanos because they weren't a team at all. They were scattered. They were like different places around Earth and on in this case Titan. But also this movie it was just incredibly big because there were so many characters involved. There was like 22 characters in all. I don't know if that includes Ant-Man and Hawkeye, but there were around that number of characters, including the Guardians. And that's like yeah, if you think about that, it's a huge movie, and you have to deal with all the screen time with all the characters. I mean, it's gonna get even crazier at Endgame when they get everyone on the screen because there's a scene with everyone in it, which is crazy. I think it would be crazier when we see Endgame because every single character is going to be on screen. That wasn't the case in this movie because if the Battle of Wakanda was crazy enough to film, it's going to be even crazier to have everyone in it. I mean, it's kind of like why Wasp wasn't in the movie because they wanted to save her debut for Ant-Man and the Wasp. And that's why Ant-Man and the Wasp were like not in the movie at all because they were doing with quantum realm stuff and trying to rescue Janet and all that stuff. So and that's why it was such a big movie. It's such a huge movie. I mean, originally it was supposed to be Infinity War Part One and Infinity Part Two, but unfortunately they broke into parts because they're very different movies. I mean, they tell a continuing story, but they're very different movie, and that's why it was such an incredible feat to actually pull this movie off. It was just a crazy movie to pull off. They filmed it. They both filmed both movies in a year, from January 2017 to January 2018. It was just crazy. But yeah, that's my thoughts on the movie. I've gone way too long on this. I'm sorry, but these Avengers reviews just go on forever because I have so much to talk about. I I loved everything about the movie. I love the music. I love the special effects. I love the visual effects. I love the powers. I loved Iron Man. I loved Spider Man. I loved battles. Just Thanos was a very cunning villain. I mean, obviously he looks different, but he's crazy powerful. If he's able to knock out Hulk, then he's unstoppable. I mean, obviously it'll be different in the next one, but still, when I first saw the movie in theaters, after going home, theater ended, and then of course we got the post credit scene with the Nick Fury and Maria Hill turning to Ash because we haven't seen them since Age of Ultron, crazily enough, and then we get Nick Fury essentially saying the pager for Captain Marvel, which sets up for that movie, and then she ends up coming into Avengers 4, and that's gonna be big for more. Sorry, Endgame, and that's a really big thing because Captain Marvel is going to be playing a very pivotal role in Endgame, and so with all that, when when the movie ended, everyone just walked out in silence. We had no words. I was just like, I had no idea what to say. I was like, "That's it? That's the movie? Wow, that's the what the hell?" I was not happy. I was very unhappy with that. I was like, what did I just watch? What abomination did I just watch? But I mean, I'm like, I was just shocked because I did not know what happened because I was like, oh my god, I can't believe that just happened because the villain of a super movie won the fight. That's just crazy. But yeah, in general, Avengers: Infinity War is an amazing movie. There's so many characters in it. The soundtrack is amazing, by the way. Also, it definitely reminds me of a combination because it's such a they combine a lot of elements from previous Marvel movies like a space based stuff like that with the Guardians and the Thor movies. It reminds me of Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, and I think maybe mainly those two, mainly the Lord of the Rings and Star Wars movies because of again the space and the ancient stuff. I don't know. It kind of reminds me of that. But yeah, that's really all I can say about Avengers: Infinity War. Great movie. It's on Netflix. If you haven't yet seen it, go check it out. If you somehow missed out on theaters, then please check it out. It's a fantastic movie. I definitely recommend it and just watch it. It's just amazing. Although it's way shorter on Netflix than in the actual showtime because the actual movie is 2 hours and 36 minutes, which is incredibly insane. But even that, it's definitely worth it. It's just a very fast 2.5 hours. It's the thing with this movie compared to other 2.5 hour movies is the fact that it just gets to the point so fast. It keeps going and it doesn't get boring. It gets to the point. Unlike movies like Transformers where it just like it gets to the point. It actually makes the story progresses. All that stuff. That's why it's amazing. So that's really all I'm gonna say about the movie. I'm gonna give this movie a obviously 10 out of 10. I mean, really, what would I think of it more than that? 10 out of 10. Fantastic movie. I really had no issues with it. Really, I didn't have any issues with it. I mean, I wish they would have won, but I also wish they would have had Hawkeye and Ant-Man in there. So I don't know, maybe 9.5 then because of those characters not being included. But again, I understand why they didn't. So I don't know, 9.5 or 10 around that. So either one of those two. But still, that's all I would say. Fantastic movie, one of the best Avengers movies, one of the best MCU movies I've seen so far. So until Avengers Endgame, that's all I'm gonna say. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this episode overviewed. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please hit the like button. I would you appreciate the support. And if you're new to this channel, subscribe for more episodes of this series and other series that I do, as well as other great content. Also, make sure to click that bell to enable alerts so you don't miss my uploads. And I'll be back next time with another episode. Alright? See ya.